All right then.
Right.
Verse 1. The friend, you remember last time, the Shulamite was asked, why do you love Jesus more than all these other loves of the world? Mm-hmm. And she gives them 10 pictures of him, right? Mm-hmm. 10 qualities and 10 pictures. And then they say this, where have your beloved gone, O fairest among women? Where has your beloved turned aside that we may seek him with you? These are the immature ones. And they, from her answer, they've been so intrigued of this that they are willing to actually go and find out for themselves. So by the Shulamite's testimony about Jesus, the immature got intrigued. They don't understand her. They don't know what she's talking about, but she can see how much she is into it, that they want to find out. And I remember when the first time that I ever met God, the feeling I had inside, I did not know what it was, but I had never felt a peace like that before. So I had to find out. So do these people, the immature ones. They see she's got something that I don't have, and I want that. Right? And how it's not only words. I mean, when you talk to people, you can see their attitudes, how they actually have their hands, their eyes, how are they. And this woman here, she's just been, not too long ago, she was looking for Jesus. She got knocked late, he wasn't there at the door, and she's been searching and searching and searching. So she knew what she was missing because he wasn't there. I mean, she didn't know she was growing, and that was a process. But still, her honesty is in her eyes, and her, I don't know really how much more I can express this, but you can see when people are genuine, right? If their eyes are all over the place and they cannot focus on you, I mean, forget it, right? But this one, she says it how she means it, and she is genuinely wanting him, describing him in words that are positive, and they will be able to see how much life there's in there. And that's what they want. And that's, when your testimony to other people, when you're like that, when you're really into God, and you tell about what he's done for you, that's how they're going to react. But they might also do something different. They might say, yeah, I can see you're all into God. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Right? But, and yes, you are, but the way they say it is meant negatively. Mm-hmm. But even when they actually mean it in a negative way, they are still affected by it.
That's right.
They just don't want to admit it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can say to yourself, well,
the victim Holy Spirit.
Don't worry, you're fine, you hit a soft spot. And just focus on your own walk. Don't start to discuss anything or debate anything. When people say that to you, you hit it. And they have been affected by it, and they won't forget it. There's an open door to them, and that's what we want, right? And you need to remember, when people ask you these questions, who is it? Why do you love him more than all the loves in the world? And then they're intrigued, and then ask, where can I find him? Right? remember, these are genuine Christians. They are not out to get you or something. No, they really want to know. Yeah. And even if they are out to get you, don't worry about it. Take it as if it was a genuine Christian. And sometimes you get hurt in your feelings only, but then God is there, isn't He? And He helps us. But when we risk something for Him, He blesses us. So if we get hurt, He's going to be there with a little handkerchief and a pat on the shoulder and say, well done. Right? What? We have talked about that we are willing to suffer for Jesus, haven't we? And some of the things that we get in our face when we talk about Jesus makes us suffer a little bit in our feelings. But Jesus is a big doctor in feelings as well. So we don't need to worry about these things. We just have to be genuine all the way.
Yeah.
People who've known you a long time, also before you were Christians, if you see them once in a while, they can see a change from every time they see you. That change alone is enough for them to actually be intrigued.
Yeah.
If they've said to you, I'll never have anything to do with that, they probably won't have anything to do with that and admit it to you. But they might find someone else they can ask, right? These personal things, we need to take them into account. Family, they are the worst. They're the hardest. Especially if they have told you, I don't want to have anything to do with that. And
Until they want something like prayer.
Well, James.
yeah, that as well.
James was Jesus' brother.
Yeah, yours.
He didn't believe.
Pardon?
And he didn't believe until he was his brother.
Yeah.
They were raised together and everything.
Yeah. But family is a difficult thing because siblings, right? There are so much negative feelings in the picture.
Yeah.
If one was better than the other one in areas and envy and everything. So even though we talk about God and Jesus and his brothers, same thing.
Yeah.
And there is a difference and some people cannot live with it. But when they see you once in a while, they will see this change and this transformation that's taking place. And then they might want to seek answers to how can that happen. I mean, if they've known you for 10, 20, 50 years maybe, and then suddenly you start changing. You say, what? What's happening? Nothing. Because you don't know you're changing. And that's it. Often you don't know yourself when you're changing. If I asked you last week, well, did you think when you got in here that you were going to pray aloud for people? You didn't know that. You didn't think you were capable of it. Now you found out that you are. And I think that's fantastic.
Amen.
I do. And I mean, I see changes in every one of you. But it's not always so obvious as something like prayer. It took me a long time to pray openly, actually. It took one weekend in the Holy Spirit on an Alpha course where God let me speak in tongues for about an hour.
For a half hour.
For about an hour.
An hour, yeah.
Yeah, I just couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
And I think, well, I might as well pray the worst then.
And a lot of years ago, I had a friend that was going through something very traumatic, And she turned to me this one day and she said, "Do you know, I was so desperate, I even prayed." I even prayed. And my response shocked myself. And I turned to her and I just said, "You imagine if you'd have prayed right at the beginning instead of right at the end." And when I said that, I thought, I didn't realise I believed that myself. It was that realisation of I knew that it would have been better for her to pray and not use it as a derogatory thing. I was so desperate I even prayed, you know?
Yeah.
And that's when you see the change in yourself.
Can I make a suggestion?
Mm-hmm.
Try and tell yourself this.
Tell myself what?
What you just told her.
Tell yourself. Give yourself the same advice.
Yeah.
I know. It's so
Blessings will follow.
Yeah. I know all these things.
Good.
Practice what
Just
you
say
preach.
Satan doesn't want to lose me.
Practice what you preach.
But you could always try Jesus. He'll always take you back.
I know.
She hasn't gone anywhere.
No. What?
Oh.
No. I know, but you know.
I still can't hear that.
So now you know how this works. No matter how they respond to you, positively or negatively, you know you hit a spot. The only ones that where it has no effect is the one they couldn't care less. They could say something like, "All right." But some people, they just don't want to know. So you also know now how to help them, don't you? With empathy, with prayer, and with guidance. And if you have people in your circle that you know and who are not believers, what you can do for them is just start praying and keep praying. And why do I say it like that? Well, because in God's kingdom it works like this. When you start praying, God tells the angels to do something. And if these guys that you're praying for have some kind of shield that protects them against prayer, then you will need angels to actually come and do something with tools to get this barrier down. And if you keep praying, they keep working. But when you stop praying, it's like they have a shovel like this and wait for you to take it up again.
It's good.
Right? Just like, have you seen some people work in the streets? 5 people to dig a hole? So you know what I mean.
5 people to watch a hole, not dig it.
One digging before watching.
But when you stop praying, the shield that protects these people grows stronger again. So you need to continue praying until there's hope. If it takes 20 years, pray 20 years. What? What did you say? Nothing. Okay. And here it comes. My beloved has gone to his garden, she says, to the immature, to the beds of spices to feed his flock in the gardens and to gather lilies. Anybody have an idea what that means? All right. The garden, what's the garden? What do you think the garden is? What do you think? Yes. And why does it say gardens underneath? There's garden and gardens.
Well, one's a particular church and the other one's a multitude of churches.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. The first one, his garden, that is the universal church. All the churches in the world. He's gone to them. To the beds of spices to feed his flock in the gardens. And that is, gardens is one of the gardens that is this church. So he's also gone to us to feed us. Yeah. That is where he is doing his work. So what is his work then?
Feed.
Yeah, let's see. John 15. God does his work amongst all of us in his universal church. And what does that mean, do you think? The universal church, that was the one consistent of all the churches in the world, right?
The body.
The whole body, yeah. But we are also a body here. He also does his particular work here. But he does both. When I ask you, what do you think that means? I mean, we all know that he's working on us individually and in couples and in pairs and in groups and within like the teachers, the prayer warriors and whatever. But he's also working so that the different churches can communicate and be one. Because what his intention is that we in one church become as one, operate as one, but he also wants the total amount of churches, his universal church, to become one. And so he works on two different levels, the individual church and the collective churches. That is what it means. Why is that then? What do you think that is? Why does God want all these churches to become one?
Because of the unity.
Because he wants one bride.
One bride. Yeah, he doesn't want all the members.
Did you look at the answers?
No, I didn't look at the answers.
Yeah, the bride, yeah.
He doesn't want an arm here and an arm over there and a body there and a head somewhere else. No, he wants the body to be able to operate as one. I mean, if we are missing an arm, we know how difficult that is. Can't eat with a knife and a fork at the same time. But he wants us to become one. That's why unity is between churches, I mean, also on the coast here. That's why it's important. And whenever churches do not want to participate in trying to become one, that's because the devil's got hold of them.
Not in on the coast.
No, well, I'm not talking about particular ones, but whenever a pastor of a church don't want a unity in an area, that's because the devil's got hold of them. I would say we are very lucky here to have a pastor who wants unity. And that is why things are going so well. Not only that, but that's one of the things. Gardens. This church is one of the churches in the universal church. And he does his work among us inside the church. When we meet, at the service, at the coffee, at the activities, discipleship and whatever, then he does his work here. What kind of work is that, do you think?
Spreading the word.
Pardon?
Spreading the word.
That's one of the things.
That's the sword. That's with the double sword.
Yes, true. But also, what did you want to say?
I was going to say, he changes us from glory to glory in his image.
Yes.
I'll take that.
Yes. I'm a little bit more down to earth now, right?
Yeah, I like
Go for the spiritual there.
He spends
I'll
all
take
these weeks telling us to think in the spirit. And then he goes, no, I want it down to earth.
But what did
He
I
wants
also
to
say? I
stick our
said,
feet on the ground.
as I also said that the physical has a parallel in the spiritual, didn't I? So how can we become one? I mean, just us.
We come
Six in
one
here.
with love.
Yes. And what if we have some of these things? What then? What? What does it do then?
Grace and mercy
Yeah,
and forgiveness.
yeah,
Yeah, but also change.
yeah.
Something's got to change if people are like that, right?
Mhm.
So we need
Grow,
to.
grow,
Yeah. Otherwise, we'll never become one.
yeah,
I have showed you in this is the marriage
yeah.
before, but where the intention is it becomes like that. Also in a group, but then there's just more hands, more points that need adjusting so we can become one, operate as one. But you're right that love is the factor that makes it work, and God is love. And that's why he says, I'm doing my work in you inside the church, among your brothers and sisters. So what is your opinion about if people come after the worship has been there, sit down and listen to the preaching and then go home? Can you tell me how can God do his work in them? I'm talking about opinions now.
You talking about
Well,
Opinion, what do you think?
well, I think worship actually brings you, well, as they keep saying, heaven down. So you're in that spiritual realm. So if you listen to the preach, you're probably not, you're listening to it on an earthly, the fleshy, and not on a...
Yeah,
It's like going to a school.
That's not very well explained, but I know what I mean.
yeah, I know what you
It's like
mean.
going to school because all you're doing is you're going in to get your lesson and
What?
then leaving.
What's the purpose of that?
Exactly, I mean.
What is it?
Well,
Don't
you
tell me.
you might learn something, but you're not going to really get any.
For whose benefit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
The
You might,
conscience.
yeah, because you're not going to really be able to.
Selfish behavior
Yeah, you're not going to be able
They
to
wanna
benefit
know.
others.
in the heads. They
Yeah.
want, they want,
I
they
think
want to.
this, every
It's
time
for
I
head
go off the
knowledge.
back, so many people come in really late sometimes.
But they go
And
to
I
another
think-
church, don't they?
Why are they here? And then one came and sat by me today, very late, and got the phone out, and I had to say to myself, I wanted to say to her, why are you here? But don't you think it's because people think, I've been to church, I've been really good, I've been to church.
I believe people have thought many things for many years, but now people also, some of us here in this church, have realized, oh, is this church?
Yeah.
Is this?
This is church.
But we do also have, there's another example for us to show that love.
Yeah,
Because
of course.
people can have an excuse. They work right up until
Yeah,
they
yeah,
get
of course.
here or whatever. There can be excuses. But also, we have to ask for discernment to know these people.
That is absolutely 100% correct. And we need to not let our own feelings get in the way.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is people who, as a rule, only comes to hear the service. And then, what I'm saying about this is, how in the world can God do his job in them when they sit down on a chair and then leave before something happens? He's working inside the church where things happen and we have to get to know each other, the weaknesses and the strengths that we have, and how we can work together, what giftings we have and all this. That's how we get to operate as one. And if we have shortcomings of some kind, then he also works on them. So, now you know He's working on you and your brothers and sisters inside the church, in the activities in the church where we participate. Like if we go out to Iceland, he will of course backpacking out there. He will be there for us, but he's not working on us. Now he's working on us talking to other people. So that means most of the people that do that, they have an evangelistic streak in them, or an interest of some kind to be there. But also mature people, they are the ones that go out there. Normally. So inside the church and the church activities is where God does his work. In all the churches in the world. In the garden which consists of the gardens of the world. Can you relate to these, what is that called? Not these practical things to think about. This is how it's all things are connected. He's working inside of this church with us, but he's at the same time he's doing it with all the rest of the churches also when they meet. So when God has something he wants done in the world as such, he's working with the same things in the churches all over the world. If the people there listen to him, then you will see it. And we have seen that a few times, where we get the same message no matter what, we go to this church or another church, or a church in Denmark, a church in England, and they are having the same things they preach. That's how he does it. I just want to give you a little bit of insight into how God operates from up there. Yeah?
From up there, huh?
Pardon?
From up there, huh?
From up there. Yeah. From up there. He's got a big view there. He does his cutting. How do you like to be cut from God, to God? He's going to cut something away from you. Yeah.
It's the pruning. It's called pruning.
That comes here.
It all depends what he cuts away.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, does it now? Does it?
Yeah.
Ah.
Because there's some things that you get cut away that don't hurt, such as nails, and they make you feel better.
Where do I have that?
Oh, yeah. Now we're back to the practical one again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bonnie. Left hand. That's it.
Yes, that's in there.
I don't see any
In the
pruning.
left.
On that one. The other one.
The other one.
The other one, Bonnie. That's all the slides in there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Good.
All right, okay. Oh, he's cutting away.
Yeah, he cuts
That
every
hurts.
branch that does not bear any fruit, he cuts off. Every branch that actually produces fruit, he prunes so it can give more fruit.
Yeah,
Just like a gardener in his garden. And we are his garden.
And he doesn't over prune.
Pardon?
And he doesn't over prune.
Never. You might think so. But,
I was just thinking about my poor plants that I've killed.
well, you're not God.
Oh.
So,
he doesn't overcut either.
no, he don't. No. He's got it covered. So, it's time that we all realize he doesn't do any of this work in us when we are out doing stuff in the world.
You what?
He's not doing it while we are out in the world.
No.
When you're occupied in the world or at your workspace, he only cultivates you inside the church you're in. When you are out there, you use what he's given you. He doesn't cultivate you there. He does that among brothers and sisters. Oh. What is a bed of spices? To feed his flock.
Smell
And those
nice.
are gifts, and the gifts.
That is the gifts. So he teaches you to use them and practice them in the church. Oh, is that what it's for then?
You thought they was to pack up and put a ribbon on.
Yeah. I thought my gifts were my gifts, weren't they? Oh. He wants you to use your gifts, doesn't he?
Amen.
Well, then it would be really good if you knew what the gifts were, wouldn't it? And everybody knows that?
Yeah. Some.
I haven't filled in my paperwork yet.
Yeah, I would say some because there's so many times that the Holy Spirit uses your gift and you don't even realize that it's that you have it, you can say. And you realize it through the Holy Spirit because it's needed for the time being. It's a season thing, yeah.
It could be a season thing. There are gifts that he gives you because no one else got them and you're the closest one to actually use it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that is one he has given you from the start.
No, I say it.
But mostly I'm talking about now are the gifts that you have been given when you are baptized.
Yeah,
Then he gives you gifts after his own will.
yeah.
And the intention is that we actually use those, get good at using them, right? And practice them in church so we can use them in church and when we are going out of the church. Some of them for inside the church, some are for outside the church. But the training is inside the church, always. So it is necessary we know our gifts. Otherwise you might stand there and he said, what you done with my gifts? This and this and that. Yeah, that was good. But what about this gift that I gave you? What you done with that one? Oh, I buried that one, God.
I never took the ribbon off. Yeah, I buried it.
I'm just trying to make it a little bit funny. But in reality, it's not very funny. I think there's a lot of people who do not know what the giftings are. And in the home group that we have started to actually explore this. So everyone gets a chance of getting to know the giftings by filling in about 180 questions about themselves.
I haven't even read them all yet. I'm filling in.
Yeah. But anyway, that is, I think it's vital that we know our gifts and how to actually practice on our gifts.
I think one other thing, what I was going to say, that if you think about, he gives you a gift. Are it you that should benefit from it, or as well, but the others benefit from it, really? Because in a way, when you think about what he's given you, you say, okay, that's all fine and good, but what I have, but then the Holy Spirit always uses your gift for another person.
Right? And the funny thing is that when we have a gift and train it and we start being able to use it for the benefit of other people, then suddenly you get something back.
Yeah, the joy, yeah.
You get joy back. And the better you are at using your gift, the more joy you get back. Because the more fruit you see. So every gift that we've been given are for other people, not for ourselves, not for our benefit. But our benefit, of course, comes when we get something back from it, so we can see it working. And that is the way he does with everybody. There's no people who don't have any gifts. I've seen some gifts work perfectly among you guys, and so I know that you understand these things, at least, yeah, you do. So what does he do? He nurtures you. He looks after you, and he gives you everything you need, so it will look beautiful. The gifts that he's given you, it will look beautiful when you practice the gifts he's given you to use. The bed of spices, they are the fruits, the fragrance that it produces when you use the gifts. And his intention is that you become all that you can become in him. And there's this special thing. He gives, if you take a teacher's gift, so I can use myself now, he uses me to a certain extent, and then not further than that, because he has said, this is the gifts I've given you, so this is you to practice that one. He might have given other people the same gift, but in a different way, so we can be even more or less. And what he is teaching us in this is, we don't have to point to the guy who has a gift that is less of a teaching gift and say, well, he's not as good as me. And we don't have to point to the one and say, oh, he's got a bigger gift than I got. I don't have to think that way. I don't have to be envious of this man. No, what I am concentrating on is the gift that I've been given for the things that he wants me to use. And within that box there, if I can fill that box up with my gift, I mean, I can become all that I can become in him with teaching.
And also, as a teacher that might look and say, well, he's a better teacher than I am, that teacher has to look and say, well, the students that God has put in my class won't be in his class because they need milk to start with, and I'm a milk man, and he's a butcher.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But he's also doing
So
this.
that's why I say enviness is silly. To be envious is silly about the gifts. Because those gifts are all given in the portion that God wants you to use them.
Is it to be envious is soul-ish, because that's about pride always.
Yeah, that's flesh. Yeah.
And what he wants us to do is see that, recognize this is what I've been giving to take care of, and then use it to the best of my ability, and then don't worry about the rest, because he's given someone else those areas. And he does that to all of us. But he has this little thing in there as well, that we also have to learn not to point to people, not point down and not point up. Just be content with what we have been given.
He always gives us what we can handle, so if we wanted to try and get somebody else's gift because you like the idea of it, even with giving you all the things to achieve it.
Yeah, and it doesn't work, I can tell you, I've tried it many times myself. It doesn't work.
What I do.
That prideful.
Sorry about
Yeah, but I mean, but you cannot get rid of pride unless you actually see it, right?
Du har ikke spist mad over det, så det må du ikke.
I know. He does nurtures our spiritual gifts so we can use them to his glory and for the benefit of people. So, this is the time that we need to see that none of what he does and gets us to do is for our own glory. It's for His glory. I mean, He's given us a gift. He teaches us to use it. People have benefit of it. But He's doing all the work. He's working with us so we can influence these people. But really it's Him doing it. And this is the way to think about our gifts. Otherwise, we have a tendency to become smug. And look in the mirror ourselves and say, oh, I'm very good at this. But we are only very good at something because He's taught us how to do it.
Ooh.
Let us say, the way He does it in church, let's say He thinks you need some patience. Okay? Then He will select someone in the church to let you practice that.
I got you. Yeah. Oh, you heard that out. That's
Don't
right.
take
Deal without saying anything there.
Yeah, my husband, yeah.
the intention was that it had to circulate around a few corners inside the brain and then get the revelation of this. But this is how He does it. If He's so good to you that He sees that you need patience, He will just select another one to train you.
Right. You give me somebody that's going right up here.
Some people might actually react a different way. They might say, this person, I just cannot handle being in the same room with this person. It tests my patience beyond my limits. So I'm changing church. But guess what? Guess what happens if that person changes? God still thinks you need more patience for what I have in mind for you. So now I'm going to select someone else to teach you, so you can practice. I mean, we are all at certain times in need of some extra quality of our, these fruits of the Spirit, like joy or love or patience or long suffering or whatever. And when God has said, now is the time to do that, so I can take you further, so you can become more of what you are supposed to be. Then, He's so good. He keeps us there until we get the point.
Pass the test.
Yeah, He's not going to take us any further anywhere before we actually learn how to deal with these things. That is love. This is why James says, consider it pure joy when you have troubles of different kinds. Because it's always God who chooses these things for you to grow into the person He wants you to be. And that's for your benefit, but for His glory. So He's going to feed the flock. The church is where you get fed. Not in the world, but inside the church you're in. You might hear things you can use in other churches, but it is in your home church He teaches and refines you. Some people go to other churches as well, which is fine. And some of the things you hear there, you might be able to use. But to refine the gifts that you have, He always does it in your home church. Because that's the church He wants to be one. I hope you're getting this point, but it's very important. That we are supposed to be one in this church, being able to operate like one. And the way to show us this is that He says to us, in Song of Songs, I'm refining you inside your home church. Okay. We have talked about when it is okay to leave a church. I've used a couple of examples, but there's one thing.
When you're not being fed.
Yeah.
That's what Pastor says. You're not being fed, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Don't
As it isn't,
stop
and
there.
here comes the proof. Because we all know that as it is in the natural, it's also in the spiritual. If you don't eat and drink, you gradually die. So if you don't get fed in the church you're in, then find another church where you get fed. That would be inside God's will. Because you spiritually die if you do not get fed.
Well, you're going to have to carry on teaching then.
Pardon?
You're going to have to carry on Sunday teaching then.
Sunday teachings, you think? There are 6 other days in the week. Just like with the plant. When you plant it in the soil and water it and gives it nourishment, then the light does the rest. Right? And what happens then? What happens with the root of the plant? Yeah, it grows stronger and spreads out, doesn't it? And the plants can grow and put any kind of fruit in it that is supposed to have. Just like you. You are like one of these plants. And it grows deeper. And the same happens with you when you are in a church where you get fed. Your root grows deeper into Jesus and becomes more rooted in Him. And it's seen in the increase in the spiritual fruits. Where does patience? Where does it say patience in there? Oh, there. Oh, there it was.
Long suffering.
Oh, there it was.
Long suffering.
Had you lost your peace?
No, it was just something is in my eye, I think.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Long suffering. Yeah.
So, the way to actually see if we are growing is to measure, do I love more now? Is there more joy in my life? Do I have more peace?
Very important.
Yeah, but does it also mean that I can suffer for a long time without getting into the flesh? Can I remain gentle when something happens? How about my faith? Do I feel that my faith is increasing, or do it stand still? Have I lost it, or what?
I think today that
These are
word
measurements.
peace is hit by anxiety. Anxiety is a very strong thing that people experience.
It is.
Takes away their peace.
It is. So if you just have all these 9 words here, you can measure yourself. Oh, it's like a thermometer. The spiritual fruits, they grow when we stay in the light. God's light, we're talking about. Not these up there. They don't do the trick. God's light do the trick. And how do we stay in God's light? Well, getting fed with His Word, that's one thing. Nurtured with His Holy Spirit, that means how do we actually get nourished with the Holy Spirit? Yeah, you can do it at home in your chair if you want. I mean, you can talk to Him. Ask Him stuff. what you want me to do today, for instance. That's a good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you think he will answer you?
Yeah.
Do you think he will answer you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. And when you do these things, your roots will grow deep into Jesus' foundation. And when you are rooted there, your house will stand in the worst storm ever, even in a tsunami.
Tsunami.
That one,
That word.
yeah, that word.
The one I can't say.
Yeah, go home and practice. Tsunami.
What can he say?
Tsunami.
What did you say, tsunami?
Tsunami.
Oh, tsunami. Okay.
Tsunami.
Why did he say tsunami?
Well, I tell you.
That was the worst
Oh.
storm.
Oh, you disconnected for a second
I
there.
must have done.
He said the worst storm ever, and he said tsunami. Yeah.
When you're getting fed with the Word and when you're nurtured by the Holy Spirit, then your roots will also grow deep into Jesus' foundation. So deep that the worst tsunami cannot knock you over.
Oh, thank you. Must have just blinked out for a minute.
Yeah, well, that can happen.
I am sorry.
Oh, I wouldn't tell my teacher that.
Wouldn't you?
But I'm
No?
honest.
Okay.
Oh! Now we know, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Got a whole closet of them.
I am glad you
I am
did.
sorry.
I'm glad you told us.
Whoever gave me this bonbon, I'm glad. Thank you.
I can hear any of that.
Yeah, these are good.
So, how does this happen?
I don't know, I think.
How do we get fed with the Word, and how can we be nurtured with His Holy Spirit? It happens when we attend church service
Do you want another one?
What then?
and participate in the rest of the activities in the church, where you and the other members use their gifts. And of course, also when attending the discipleship courses.
And staying awake.
Get on and
And staying awake. I love it.
does it get it
I'm
on?
missing everything here. I switched off.
That's okay.
Have you switched off now? This is switch off day then.
I think I'm concentrating on my stomach and not what we're saying.
Ah,
So
yeah.
how then
Help
get
me,
the
Lord.
wind out?
Pardon?
Open my ears.
You need to go out and get the wind out.
I can't just do that
Why not?
Go and get the well.
The wind.
because it's
Oh.
here, pain in my stomach.
Yeah, trapped air.
Thank you. Is everyone happy now?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's on tape.
Well, I'm deaf, so I won't hear a thing.
So go ahead. Some advantages there.
All right
Can
then.
you cut that off the...
It's you're the one that says
The smell is brilliant.
Why would I?
She
Oh,
said,
somebody else is hearing it.
she said, you need to go out and get the wind.
Who else? He's making a library of all the things.
Answer, my
Listen,
friend.
I thought it was kept between them.
This is what we get at the
She
butcher
says
shop.
for the sense of smell.
That's right.
The answer, my friend,
He's blowing in the wind.
Come on.
I'm listening.
All I can say
Attention,
is,
attention, we're losing.
you've trapped the wind of the Lord inside you, and He's working on you.
I can actually hit this one if you really want.
When all started today.
You need a
I
tsunami.
started
I have 10 to
Late.
22.
quarter after. No, a quarter late.
Quarter late. So you're going to be quarter late.
I am a quarter late.
We've done it. Get on, you know.
But now I've talked about all the work is being done in the churches.
Sorry.
So am I.
But that doesn't mean that going to a football match is wrong. Or going to the golf course or any other worldly activity. That does not make them wrong.
As long as it's not on a Sunday.
That's
If it
okay.
is once in a while, I don't see any problem.
But don't make a religion out of it.
No.
Sorry.
Well, I'm fine with that. I mean,
Sunday's church.
we don't want to be religious. We want to be faithful. Have faith.
I said you can see
Yeah,
everything on
because-
the telly afterwards.
Well,
Actually, I'm thinking of Anna. Little Anna's in a... Anna's Sophia
yeah.
Yeah.
is in a important match thing. She
Yeah.
comes every time she can.
Yeah.
But she goes to a... Like today, she was at
Yeah.
a thing.
Well,
I mean, it's like this. If God wants to educate you in some area, I'm sure that that person who will teach you patience is also there the following Sunday.
yeah. Well, yeah. There is a little difference in your choice, and she doesn't have much because she's committed to a team. So she hasn't really got a choice to say to the team, you carry on going to church.
And most of all, it's for us to say to ourselves, it's not up to us to judge.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And we don't know what God has told other people than what He's told us. And we don't want to be religious. I mean, there's been so many mistakes made for people being religious. And in the end, it takes the joy and happiness and the development of the gifts and everything away if you become religious. Because some part of you starts opposing this religious living. There has to be freedom to choose always.
Actually, my family,
Get out of it.
I went to Jib once, well, more once obviously, but it was on a Sunday, and whenever I'm in Jib, I always go to the church.
Mm.
Well, one Sunday I didn't go to church. I really got a mouthful. You call yourself a Christian, you don't go to church this morning?
What does that tell you?
Some people do.
Analyze, please.
I know. Well,
That if you don't go to church now and again, that you're not a Christian. That is.
No, that's their way of thinking.
Well,
Yeah,
first of
I mean,
all,
that's-
who's saying this?
That's how we
Non-Christians.
Yeah.
But who's saying this?
That's all she
Some
did.
Yeah. Non-Christian, yeah. Someone is talking through a non-Christian.
right, yeah. I didn't take any notice.
No, we're going to use your experience for the common good.
Oh, right,
So if you get this from a non-Christian, you know that Satan is out to get you. And if you do not know the truth, you will feel condemned. But now you know the truth, because I've told you that because you miss one Sunday, don't matter. The one who's teaching you patience is going to be the next one as well. Freedom, we need the freedom to be able to choose. God says, I only want you in my house if you choose me by your own free will. Right? So when people say this to you, you know, I'm doing something right. Because they always talk on behalf of Satan if they're not Christians. And if Christians talk to you like that, you know Satan's got a foothold in them. Because they're judging where they shouldn't be judging. We don't judge each other. Don't point fingers at each other. However,
Yeah.
even though it's fine to go to football games and stuff, it doesn't mean if you do not attend any activities with your brothers and sisters where God goes, does His work, and you might stand still in your walk. So if you make a general rule of some of these things, if you only come to the service like that and then away, you don't get the work done in you that you're supposed to have done. And you might lose your joy in Jesus, your love for Jesus, and you might actually start backsliding. You cannot stand still. You either grow or fall back. There's no standstill. God wants you and me to grow all the time. So, to grow in Jesus, you need to be where God does His work in you. Otherwise, you might deceive yourself or be deceived. I mean, you probably heard a lot of Christians with many excuses for not this and not that. But now you know the truth. This comes from Song of Solomon that God has written. So, let's go on with it. One of the characteristics by being deceived is that you never know when you are being deceived. Deceived means that you don't know it. So, if someone comes and tells you, it seems like you are growing backwards, right? Your first reaction probably will be, no, I'm not. I'm going this, and I'm going here, I'm doing that. But people, will notice when you start being less joyful, less patient, have less love, if you are impatient and all this. People do notice. And if one day someone comes to tell you these things and you can see this person is genuine, he could be sent by God to tell you. Or she. These few points, they are answers and considerations to the question in verse chapter 6, verse 1. Where is your lover? So all this came from that little question. The lover, Jesus, is gathering lilies in the church, in his garden and gardens. The Shulamite has been growing and have her feet planted in God's foundation. She's grown, so now she can say this. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. He feeds his flock among the lilies. First thing I want to say is, just see a difference in this Shulamite. From me in the first chapter, to now, I am my beloved. I am my beloved's. I mean, I'm his. I don't own myself anymore. She's found that out. He does. I am his. But she's also found out that her beloved, Jesus, is hers. She's made this connection. They are tied together now. So we are becoming one. But actually what he is, he's talking to you now. At this stage, this is how it is in you. He feeds his flock among the lilies. Who are the lilies? What color is a lily?
Beautiful.
Is that a color? Beautiful?
Oh, sorry. White.
They're
Is that
white.
a colour?
White. What does white mean? Pure. Righteous. Yeah, the righteous ones are the ones that actually believe in Jesus Christ as their Savior.
Yeah.
So that's where he does his work. And he also feeds his flock there. That means,
Among them.
pardon?
Among
them,
Yes, yeah. Among them, yeah.
Oh. So those righteous people, they are you and me. And this Shulamite is saying, my beloved is my beloved is mine. Oh, here comes this. Yeah, you remember what she did in the last chapter. She was running around trying to find him, and she got beaten and disappointed and everything, but she was still humble. So humble, she went to the young Christians. She'd seen them, how they operate. And you said to him, if you find him, could you tell him I'm lovesick? I mean, a little bit like when you say what you did before. I logged off for a second. Could you repeat that? I mean, this is excellent. I really think this is excellent. That's honesty. Honesty, that's what we want. She's ready to go through a lot just to be with Jesus. Maybe that rings a bell. Are you ready to go through a lot to meet with Jesus?
More? More?
More than we are.
More than we are. More?
See, this
Amen.
this fits exactly into the content of the New Testament. Remember Mary and what's her sister's name? Martha. Martha was upset with Mary because she sat at Jesus' feet while she was cleaning the house and making the coffee and whatever.
Do you need coffee, darling?
Oh,
Because I do.
yeah, you didn't drink your coffee, did you?
No.
I had to do that.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Poor you.
But Mary, she postponed her own work until she had gotten from Jesus what she wanted. Her sister told her off because she did that. Mary was prepared to get that scolding, what you call it, from her sister because she wanted what she could get from Jesus Christ. I mean, he wasn't there always, was he, with her? So she took what she could get when she could get it. And that's how we are supposed to react. Oh, my love, you are as beautiful as Tirsa. Now something really great is going to come. Yes, when we are done. Lovely as Jerusalem, awesome as an army with banners. Tirsa, you know what Tirsa is? That's a town in Palestine, and it's spelled different than it was before. But that town was famous in the whole world for having the most beautiful garden in the whole world. So when he says, you are beautiful as Tirsa, then he says, you are as beautiful as the most beautiful garden in the whole world. He's talking to you individually now.
I was wondering what the hands were for.
All of you are. So he's talking to you.
Explained it.
I know. And you, and you, and you, and you. And you.
Of course.
And me.
I'll take it.
Lovely as Jerusalem. What's that mean then?
Well,
What's
Jerusalem is God's perfect place. Let's put it that way on earth. Jerusalem was the center.
Yes, that was,
Yeah.
down to earth. What about the spiritual meaning of Jerusalem?
Well, New Jerusalem.
Pardon?
New Jerusalem.
Yeah, but the spiritual, what we think about as Jerusalem, that is spiritually. That's spiritually, right?
Okay.
So you're also spiritually lovely and beautiful. It's the same thing here.
Okay.
Awesome as an army with banners.
Yeah.
Have you seen an army with banners?
Amen. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
all the banners are there. But beautiful, Tirsa also means beautiful, delightsomeness, and favorable. So he's saying to you, you are my delight.
Whatever that was.
Yeah? You are beautiful and perfect, and you have my favor. You are highly favored.
We know it.
He says, that's what you are. When we sing out there, we sing, you are, right? And then he sings to us, you are. Now he says, you are favored. This is a label on you. You are favored.
Yes, Lord.
You don't have to ask for his favor because you are favored.
I quite like that bit. You are my delight.
Yes.
Favored, weren't we?
Yeah.
We were favored.
And you are my delight whenever he sees you. And
Special
it's even
favor on us on
better
Friday.
than that, because no matter what is going on in your life, Jesus says, you are favored. You are my delight. You are beautiful, even though you're 15 minutes late. You are favored, and his delight, and beautiful. Well,
Even when you're 80 and falling apart.
and I have an addition to that, and starting to pray aloud in the group.
Amen.
I heard that. I wasn't here last Sunday, but I heard it. I wasn't here last Sunday, but I heard that you prayed out loud.
And
So you do it again.
you also did it today.
And this was
Without, no, that was not half. There were words there, so you prayed aloud, didn't you? Okay. We have 2 witnesses of that.
That's right. That's all you need.
That's all we need. Tirsa, the most beautiful garden in the world. So he is telling you, you are the most beautiful garden in the world. And you are spiritually perfect. Remember Esther. The proof comes in Esther. The old natural spirit was totally replaced with the perfect spirit. So you are spiritually perfect and beautiful. Suddenly you're going to get this. There is not a wrinkle on any of you.
Can I get that in writing?
It's here.
Specsavers.
You,
You said you need Specsavers.
I just been there.
You said you need Specsavers.
I heard it. But see, he's talking spiritually.
Yes, Lord. Yeah, it better be because he sure ain't going to do it.
And it says in the Bible, we don't mind when we get older and have different signs of it. Doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is we're spiritually beautiful. And his delight, 80 or not. So, this banner thing, we better get back to that as well. Awesome as an army with banners. What is our banner? What is our banner?
I was going to say, the only thing I can think of is that song, The Banner Over Me is Love.
Yeah, it's under the banner.
What? The one.
The banner over us.
The banner over me, the banner over us is love, love, love.
So,
I would
yes,
say the banner is the cross.
No, it's not.
just no discussion.
Sorry.
Let's start somewhere. The banner over us is love, right? You get it?
Right, I know. Yeah.
Whose love?
Jesus is love.
God is love.
God is love.
So we are awesome in Him, perfect in Him, and we are waving the banner of love over us,
Amen.
right?
Okay.
The power that gives every victory is love. Hang on. The banner over all life is a victory won through love. Jesus died on the cross out of love for us. And we, the believers, are the army. So, it was just a little premature, that one.
Yeah, okay.
The biggest form of love there is when Jesus paid with His life for our freedom and our life.
It's still not a banner.
Pardon?
It's still not a banner.
That's the banner over our life. When we flag,
The one
whatever we flag, we are flagging Jesus on the cross.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The,
I bow to the master.
the ultimate love. Yeah. The ultimate sign of love is when Jesus Christ died on the cross, and we are flagging that with our lives. And we answer by following Him. Vi-
Jeg tror ikke, du skulle spørge, om det er okay, du skal gøre det der færdigt, fordi der mangler altså lige nogle sider ud. I'm so sorry,
it's,
but I say it in Danish.
It's 8 minutes after 3. Let's see where we are.
Oops.
banner.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 9 slides to go.
Can I have 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe?
Oh no.
Is that okay?
10 minutes, 15, 30.
No, you're the one that falling asleep. I'm looking at you. Are you all right?
And you know,
I've got no, I haven't got much to I've got
Somebody catching a bus?
Is someone catching a bus?
Anybody catching a bus?
no.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, okay, 15 minutes is
No.
fine.
Take a minute.
Are you taking them?
Yeah, you take one. Oh, don't mind. Take everyone.
So, I really do want you to have this one as well. Verse 5. Don't look in your papers, but just listen. Because it's going to be very good. He says to you, turn, this is God speaking directly to you now. Turn your eyes away from me, for they have overcome me. Your hair is like a flock of goats going down from Gilead. Remember chapter 4:9, you have ravished my heart with one of your eyes. That meant when you look at me, he said to you at that time, I'm over the moon with you. Now he says, turn your eyes away from me, for they have overcome me. What does overcome me mean?
Overwhelmed.
They're weakened me.
It says overwhelmed in my version. Overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Now-
Well, they weakened. Overcome
One
is
look-
something that's weak.
One look from your eyes
No.
has overcome him. And that is how much he loves us. It speaks of his awesome love. He is totally overcome by a weak, broken people who have humbly, obediently followed him and now lift their eyes to him. That's you he's talking about.
Well, yes, they overcome by weak faith.
But now think, Jesus himself, he can and he also has overcome all enemies, all armies, all suffering, all death. Yet one look from your eyes has overcome him.
That's love.
Incredible.
That's how good this was. It's incredible. So when you think like this, if you ever get to question whether he loves you or if he's with you, if he wants to help you or anything else in that, for that matter, just think of this time here. The same guy who has overcome everything there is to overcome, he has beaten Satan, thrown him out of the sky with 1/3 of the angels there. Right? He's conquered death. He's resurrected. He's overcome all that. So you could be free. And yet, one look from you overcomes him. He's totally defenseless. That's how much and how deep his love is for you. Every one of us, he loves like that.
Oh, another song back in my head.
Can't take it in, really.
Probably not. From verse 6 to verse 9, you can read that and the answers to these verses in chapter 4, and you have that material. So I'm going to skip that now. I go straight to verse 10. We are called to be moons. Oh,
Sorry.
so I'm supposed to be a moon now. Hi moon. You're a moon.
Am I
Yeah, you're called to be a moon.
full moon? Very full.
Can I cheat?
Pardon?
Can I cheat?
I'm not cheating.
Well, no, this is what I've done with
We are
Andrew.
Oh, okay, we are called to be moons.
Yeah.
Light in darkness.
So, who is she who looks forth as the morning, fair as the moon, clear as the sun, awesome as an army with banners? Who's that then?
Okay.
That's a picture of us. So we are called to be moons. It says here. Why are we called to be moons? Well, the sun shines on the moon, and the moon reflects the rays of the sun into this dark world.
Yeah.
Could you let me answer the question you first asked me?
Jesus is the Son. Son
Good.
of the Lamb.
Sometimes I just have to look the other way, Norman. So you can sit there impatiently and wait until it notices you.
Where is he? He's not over this way.
Behind you.
So we can see him. I'm sitting in this way.
So, in other words, we are called to be moons. That means to reflect the light of God to this dark world. Oh, so the world is looking at me, is it? Yeah. So when I don't go to church on Sundays, they might come and say to me, "Do you think you're a Christian? You don't go to church today?" And then we can display the freedom we have in Christ and say, "Well, that's right, because I'm not religious. I'm a believer, and I can believe wherever I am. I don't have to follow anything except what I follow by my own free will." It means we are called to reflect Jesus with our lives. Oh, what about then when I go to the supermarket? And there's a queue and people just jump the queues, and how would Jesus react?
Or drive impatiently around the road.
That's another thing, yes.
What was that?
you
What was
must
that?
I didn't hear what she said. What did she
What'd you
say?
say?
I have no idea, I'm sitting next to him.
I said, and drive impatiently around
Oh,
in the car.
yeah.
For a parking lot or something, yeah.
Yeah?
You always pray for a parking place.
But it wasn't a parking place. I said, driving around in the car impatiently.
Oh,
Only knew what I was saying, but that was
okay.
Yeah, I heard it the first
Yeah, because
time.
he's in the same car. He's sitting in the same car with his hands on the dashboard.
Oh, the way you got the blame there, Annette.
Since we are called to reflect Jesus with our lives, we need to notice that we don't have to turn off the darkness. We just have to allow Jesus' light to flow through us, and that will reflect into every dark situation. In plain words, what would that mean? We don't have to notice the people who are doing something wrong, but we have to, with the way Jesus would react, also react in that situation. We don't have to get all up here because they do that.
Just say God bless you. That's what I do when somebody calls me up. I go, God bless you.
Yeah.
Do you mean it?
Yeah,
I
good
try
for you.
to. I try to.
Yeah.
First, I said, God.
I mean, what we know about ourselves is that we have feelings and we have attitudes. When someone does that, they, but when they step on your toes in some way, our feelings might get up here. And depending what it is, get up there. And maybe we have reached this point so we can avoid doing something stupid when it only hurts here. But if it's up here, we might look red in the face or something. Or say some words as well. God is actually teaching us to be able to have this done to us, this much, this bigger pressure, without us needing to actually act it out. He's always working at our long suffering, our patience and all these things, so that we can, be more and more mature.
Bring it on.
And I mean, we all explode once in a while. And we learn from it. So we have that. How can we react in those situations? Well, by walking in faith, we can hear him and follow him. We can ask him, should I do something about this, or what do you want me to do? We can see Jesus for who he is, and also, and here it comes, we have to make sure our own motives are right whenever we react. We have to also ensure that our attitudes are right, because they're the ones, emotions and attitudes, they are our helpers, but sometimes they are also out to kill us. What happens to every one of us when we have reacted in the way Jesus wouldn't want us to react? Sometimes we're gifted with a wife that remarks it, and so we can think about it. Other times we only get the feelings, the bad feeling inside ourselves, because we know we've done something we shouldn't have done. And that teaches us something. And that helps in the long run. I mean, if you hit your head on the wall 10 times, I mean, at some point you start avoiding doing it. Right? And I have. So
10 times you said, ouch.
Yeah, I've broken arms and doing that. Well, we have to make sure our motives are right and our attitudes are right when we follow Jesus. And that means we don't follow Jesus because of what we can get out of it ourselves, but we follow him because of who he is. And to find out who he is, just have to go back a few PowerPoints and see what he just told you before.
Mm-hmm.
So, as our walk becomes more because of who he is, because I love him, I am my beloved and my beloved is mine, and we rest in this fact. And our motives to follow him are right, then we will shine brightly as the sun and become awesome as an army with banners. So this is where you are at right now. Emotions, attitudes, and realizing who you are in Christ, that he's over the moon with you. Not only that, he's totally defenseless, because one look from your eyes into his eyes overcomes him totally. That's how much he loves you, and that is also a measure of how much he's willing to let you go through, how much he wants to help us. We are waving this banner of love, the love of Christ, everywhere we go. That is the right, answer to what he's done for us. Yes, God did that for me. Yes, I do believe in Christ. Yes, I am a born-again Christian, and things like that. And the light of Jesus will shine through us even more as the world gets darker and darker. And it is getting darker and darker. But no matter what, we are meant to stay humble and keep seeking, knocking, even ask the immature to tell us that we love him. So the new focus, motives, attitudes. Something is wrong here. And the result of these things, when we go do that, we will have more and more intimacy with Jesus. And get into a higher and higher bridal chamber. And then, the next time, there will be 4 big headlines, and I won't tell you about them right now. But next time is a very, very good one. So thank you for today. Thank you for listening. Who's going to close in prayer?
Norman.
Now, I was going to say Annette because she was the last one in.
That doesn't count. I haven't got a clue what to pray about. I wasn't here. Oh gosh. They're bullying me, darling.
Yes, they are.
Oh, thank you, Father. Lord, that we can bully each other in love. And laugh about it.
And love it.
And love it, yes, Lord. Father, thank you for your love for us. It knows no bounds. Thank you for your love for us. Lord, that you gave Uli the wisdom and knowledge to write about it just for us. Father, thank you for the good feast you have provided for us. And as we go, Lord, I ask that you bless it to our bodies, so we can be your moon and reflect your glory.
Mm.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you.
Amen.
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 Amen.